Javier Farje. He's a Latin America analyst. Thank you for coming on, Javier. Both the government and the opposition in Venezuela are claiming victory for this. What can be done to get some more clarity?
Very clear. President Lula of Brazil, President Gustavo Petro of Colombia, and President Boric of Chile have asked the government to provide the accurate information about how the Electoral Commission reached the conclusion that President Maduro had actually won the election. And they want the Carter Center and the UN to have an independent investigation. The only way Mr. Maduro can prove that he won, and I said Mr. Maduro because the Electoral Commission is very close to the government, there's no question about that, is to provide information. Now, as Manuel Rueda said in Caracas, it's true, the opposition claims that Mr. Edmundo Gonzalez won by 70% of the votes. That could be debatable, but the opinion polls and the high turnout in the elections, which unlike other elections which were boycotted by the opposition, was, as I said, high, suggests that Mr. Edmundo Gonzalez would have won. Now, at the moment, the Electoral Commission has not provided any concrete evidence that Mr. Maduro has won. He has announced based on the information they have. Now, these tallies are extremely important because they are the only proof that there is about how many people voted in the polling station, how many people voted for which party. The opposition has not shown the information they have in relation to what they say, that claiming that Mr. Gonzalez won by 70%. But the burden of proof is not on the opposition, it's on the Electoral Commission. And so far, we haven't received anything. Now, President Maduro has said to President Lula in the last few hours that he's going to provide information, but it's not him who should do that. It should be an independent audit, as Colombia has requested. If an independent audit reaches the conclusion that Mr. Maduro has won, they will recognize the government. Otherwise, the doubt is going to remain. And Lula has been trying very hard to help Venezuela regain credibility in the international community. But unfortunately, the situation in Venezuela and the position of Mr. Maduro is not helping to achieve that.
And we know that Maduro's victory could extend socialist rule in the country. What does this mean for Venezuelans who are already living in poverty?
More sanctions for the US, more sanctions from the European Union, and isolation in the region. Only a few countries have recognized his victory: Nicaragua, Cuba, Honduras, and Bolivia, countries which do not make a huge difference in terms of the economic situation in Venezuela. These more sanctions will make the situation in Venezuela even worse. There's been a slight increase of the production of oil, but nothing like it was in the past. It is 800,000 barrels a year instead of the 2.5 million barrels that they used to extract before. They need to improve the output of oil in order to improve the economy. But if sanctions remain, they won't be able to do that because they won't have the equipment and access to the technology they need to do this. So more economic burden for the poor people in Venezuela, more protests. Many, as Manuel Rueda said in Caracas, traditionally strongholds of Chavismo, like El Petare, the biggest shanty town in Caracas, have been demonstrated against the government. There's going to be more political violence, more political instability, more economic crisis, and that could make things even worse for everybody. That could be the consequences unless Mr. Maduro proves with real information that he's actually won the election. So far, the doubts remain, and the opposition claims that Mr. Gonzalez has won. And that is a big problem for Venezuela at the moment.
And Javier, we know that other Latin American nations have spoken out against Maduro in this situation. How will this affect their relations going forward, would you say?
Well, some of the countries have their own agenda. President Milei for Argentina is a far-right president who will not accept Mr. Maduro's victory, even if Maduro proves that he's actually won. So in that respect, it's not going to change. So they have their own agenda. Peru as well. The president of Peru, the very low popularity. In that respect, that won't change the situation. But it will affect in terms of the trade agreements between Venezuela and other countries in Latin America, but also the credibility that the country will have in terms of the regional relations with the rest of Latin America. But mainly the United States. That is a big problem for Venezuela. The United States position, so far they have not said that it's fraud, but they want more independent information about this. That's going to be crucial to determine the situation in terms of Venezuela's international relations in the world.
Okay, Javier Farje, thank you for your analysis today.